We rolling, we rolling, we rolling. Get these levels right. True Face, Trust the Process, episode 91. We in this thing, man. Give it a couple minutes for the algorithm. Make sure they don't block us out. If y'all don't know how these sessions go, we're gonna play a couple of fully, well, not necessarily fully finished songs, but we're gonna play a couple tracks. Usually one off of a recent project, one off of one that's soon to be dropped that's unreleased, and we'll go and listen to the last beat made, and then we're gonna get into some production. So yeah, we rolling. Where we at? A minute. Free Game for Sale EP out now. Free Game for Sale album round the corner. The joint album with my brother Stone, the Stone Cold Truth, round the corner. New Phone Who This, the R&B EP, the R&B EP, round the corner. That's really done. I just want to put a new mix. I mixed it like a year ago and never really made a rollout for it. But with no further ado, we're going to play one of these tracks. Let's just play the intro, man. Free Game for Sale, title track off of the EP recently released and the soon to be released Free Game for Sale, the album. Let's get it.
Free game, still for sale though. Yeah, blowing dirty smoke, got the sunroof, baby, y'all don't even need a drop. All I got is free game for sale like JC Yama's lot, but this ain't see the block. They free thugger, but it's still fuck 12. We don't even see the cops. Hood legend like I'm Boo Capone. All this time passing,
and you ain't even see the watch.
20 something pushing 30, now you tryna gang bang, homie, need to stop. Heard a shouty fucking with the ops, still leeching off that bitch, you need a job. No mafioso, but we the mob. Please do not approach with malice intent. Wrong move, have you seeing God? No pearly gates, how you meeting? No Goku, boy, you ain't saying no Ben Simmons, but I ain't playing more like Kyrie off of IV in the Golden State. I might drop 40. No switch on the clean Glock 40. And yeah, we hellin' from that P-State. So you know the homie got a mop on him, put a stock on it. You do not wanna test. You do not wanna play with it, baby. Heard they looking for the sauce. Little mama lost, catch me in the A. Little baby, what you really tryna say? Little baby, bend it over, let me play with it, baby. Pronto, like Concho. By tomorrow, I'm tryna get paid. Little baby, 100 rounds in this little drinky. When I close my eyes, I hope it's will to take me. Still repent over self-defense. Hope the devil skip me, hope the Lord forsake me. Blessings get them, hope the Lord forsake me. Gets degrees to this shit like Freemasons. Watch the fake homies, they sneak caking. Your time coming, shorty, be patient. Yeah, blowing dirty smoke, got the sunroof, baby, y'all don't even need a drop. All I got is free game for sale like JC Yama's lot, but this ain't see the block. They free thugger, but it's still fuck 12. We don't even see the cops. Hood legend like I'm Boo Capone. All this time passing, you ain't even see the watch. 20 something pushing 30, now you tryna gang bang.
Homie, need to stop.
Her little shawty fucking with the ops, still leeching off that bitch, you need a job.
No mafioso, but we the mob.
Please do not approach with
Malice intent.
Wrong move, have you seeing God? No
Pearly gates, how you leading? Trying to get this mic input right. Yeah, I'm high. I'm good enough. And it's dropping low enough.
Like I know, like show the camera. Like I know. Let me live. You miss you. That's a what? That's it for Judge Baptist's daughter. Hey, boom.
That's that Free Game for Sale produced by True Phase. Title track off the recent release Free Game for Sale EP. And it will be on the Free Game for Sale album. We're going to get into some unreleased music that will be on also on the Free Game for Sale album right around the corner. This Paul Pierce featuring the homie Dom, produced by True Phase. I think it was episode 18 or 31, one of them. Let's get it.
We going live. I'm too unapologetic to apologize. Apple in my mama's eye, never wore guys. Bitch niggas I despise with negative, we cutting ties. Ride with my twin, come and dance with the sinners. End to beginning, take a chance with a winner. Your friends and my friends in a trance when I spin a old foe, shorty low. I'm the man, little niggas say they always on go first, make a plan, little nigga. End up in the can of telling on the stand, pointing fingers. The plot thickens like ass on video vixens. It's good written, last supper with all the fixins. Your chick
End up lost, so you play Pippin.
I walked in this bitch like sauce, you play pimpin'. Known to call a spade a spade. Cutting everything, we play different. The finest cloth we make
Mr.
different.
Dummy Down, the one and only good fella. Mr. She gon' do what the fuck I tell her. Let me speak, wasn't there to hold you back. Let her free and let him be, but then stand at ease and let me eat. Keep the focus on your business and then mine. Man, get in line, tryna take an inch and lose a foot. When I land mine and with this right hand I'm out on my chest, I pledge allegiance to slap a nigga dead in his mouth over a grievance. You get offensive, I'm playing defense, but ain't for games, cause how I grew up and how you grew up ain't the motherfucking same. I was outside using outsider, a motherfucking lame. If I'm outside then you see me, don't say my motherfucking name, little nigga.
Yes, sir. That's the unreleased track off the soon-to-be released Free Game for Sale album. Paul Pierce featuring the homie Don. Let me stop this before I play something else. Well, it ain't. And we about to get to it, man. Weapon of choice as usual. Reason. We gonna play the beat from the last stream, and we gonna start rocking out, man. The desktop capture cut out about halfway, 2/3 through the last one, but you could still hear the beat being made in the back. You just can't see what I was doing, so I left it up. But this is the beat from episode 90. Sequence, but it is pretty much sealed. Getting that 808 in between the kicks. Alright, let's get into something. Let's get into something. We should still be rolling, but let me check, cause you know I be paranoid.
How you like me now? Cause I'm real. Coming down.
Yeah, we good. Alright, let's go. Let's just start randomly clicking on stuff. Let's do something a little different today. We're not gonna go in order. We're not gonna go up and down the list. We're just gonna look for random names. See what jumps. I just seen Anthony something. I don't remember what that is. Or am I tripping? There it go. I like the mic right here. It feel like a real mic. The seasons, oh, the seasons as they change. That's how you got down sing when you on stage back in the day. Gotta hold the mic like it's your woman. I like that. That's kind of cold. I do not remember that either. I used that already. Ooh, sound like some pop. Let me go see what the. Let me see what these vocals is talking about.
But why did the man who gave us Superfly, People Get Ready, and a catalog of black empowerment fade? This is the story of and a legacy left underrated. The roots of a musical prophet.
Is this a legacy when I'm left with you? If I could tell you just one, that's all I have to do.
Hold up. So let's chop this in half.
Religious woman, a pillar of strength who raised Curtis and his siblings.
Is this
Family grounded. Music wasn't just entertainment in the Mayfield household. It was salvation.
is this
Church choir.
is this a legacy?
In that same choir, a young Curtis met another teenager who would forever change the course of his life, Jerry Butler. Together, their voices harmonized in one. Neither of them knew that this humble beginning would lay the foundation for one of the most socially powerful soul groups in American history. Though his spiritual roots were strong, Curtis's relationship with school was rocky. He was different, deeply introspective, drawn more to lyrics and rhythm than textbooks and teachers. By the time he was a teenager, he had dropped out of school. But instead of falling
Zoom
into
in a
despair
little
and
more.
Curtis did something remarkable. He taught himself how to play the guitar, not with lessons, not in music school, but on his own.
All right, I'll
string
take
by
that
string,
shot.
note by note. He played the guitar like no one else, tuning it to a
So I got an idea, but I'm gonna do it in reason. Let me spit it out normal.
Stay humble and stay out of the way. But from an early age, Curtis knew silence wasn't safety. It was surrender. And he refused to surrender. The seeds had been planted in Cabrini Green, in the pews
Ooh,
of
in the
church,
project.
in the strings of
The
his guitar.
blades.
What came next would change not just his life, but the soul of a generation. The Impressions. Soul music with a message. In the late 1950s, while many teens were chasing doo-wop dreams or mimicking Elvis, Curtis Mayfield was chasing something deeper. Purpose.
I'm bouncing these clips out to this
Curtis to join
because I had the full chop in there.
Mayfield didn't hesitate.
So I'm just making them chop loop 1, loop 2. So when I chop the vocals, I'm not
And his hunger to be
snatching anything from the first
together with
loop.
Sam Gooden, Richard Brooks,
Even though the algorithm usually picks it up pretty well. It probably won't take much of these vocals out, but
impressions.
we'll have it totally separate.
Early years were modest, but full of potential.
Right folder.
Their
Yep,
first big
yep,
break
yep.
came when
All right,
Jerry
let's go into
hit song
Studio One.
Your Precious Love in 1958. The song cracked the Billboard Top 20 and marked the beginning of something special. But shortly after,
Yeah, we still
Jerry
rolling.
left the group to pursue a solo career. Most young bands might have collapsed under that weight. Not this one. Instead, Curtis stepped forward, not only as lead vocalist, but as the group's primary songwriter and creative director. An unprecedented
And
move
then I
for
never heard of Jerry
an
Butler
era.
again.
This wasn't just about filling shoes.
I got that VMPC, man. I can't figure.
They weren't just singing love songs.
I don't even know if you can.
Singing for their
It need an
rights.
input, and I don't know how to run no input into it
Throughout the early 1960s,
unless it's my
the
record player.
Impressions found their true sound.
Um,
Soulful,
starting a
smooth,
new
but
one.
razor
Be
sharp
with.
message. Songs like It's All Right, Gypsy Woman, and I'm So Proud showcased their rich harmonies, but it was Curtis's writing that gave the music its soul. He wasn't afraid to speak about struggle, inequality, and hope. Then came 1965, and with it, People Get Ready. It wasn't just a hit, it was a hymn.
Yeah, I'm gonna take the drums out of these too. So let's load
Spiritual imagery.
one of them up because it got like a little drum feel at the end
You just get
that I don't want in every loop.
the song was
We're
an
gonna see what the tempo
unmistakable
is.
civil rights movement.
Use your tools if they there. Might as well.
In his speeches, it wasn't angry, it wasn't
We looking
violent,
at
but it was powerful, and it demanded
180
attention.
tempo.
People Get Ready landed
What's
in the
this
top
one?
20, but its true success wasn't chart-based. It became the soundtrack of marching feet, of
181.
tired mothers praying for change, of a country trying to reconcile
That's
its
90
promises
for
with
real.
its reality.
So yeah, 91.
The Impressions weren't just
Whoa.
singing to be famous. They were singing to inspire, to uplift.
We'll do
and to
93,
demand
193.
change. Songs like Keep On Pushing, We're a Winner, and Choice of Colors kept the momentum alive, blending gospel roots with political awareness. This wasn't radicalism, it was righteousness.
It's not gonna be quite perfect, but
The Impressions marked a shift in
that
pop
ain't the
music.
reason we doing it. We make it perfect or as close to as we can. All right, so we just want to take the drums out of this one.
In a time when radio
That little drum feel. Keep everything else.
The Impressions broke through. With every chorus, they reminded America of its unfinished promises.
And then the second one,
World danced to Motown's polished pop.
we want to separate,
Truths that cut deeper. Curtis wasn't trying to be
and we want to do it
he was trying to
without.
profit.
Well, no, we don't need that. It's doing the same thing.
And by the end of the decade,
So we just want the vocal out of this one.
that the messages he carried needed more room, more control, and more power.
Excuse me.
To step out alone.
Because it's doing almost the exact same thing as that. I'm still going to do one of these, though. Just in case it's giving me a little bit different variation.
Soul music,
I'm going to go in and I'm going to just do the bass and the other, take the drum and the vocal out. Just so I got it.
Curtis needed freedom. Freedom to speak louder, go deeper, and push harder. So at the peak of his fame, he made a bold decision. He left the Impressions. It was a risk. Walking away from a successful group wasn't just uncommon.
See? It stopped. Y'all couldn't even see that.
Didn't want to just make music anymore.
Uh-oh, it's doing some. Ooh. There we go.
His solo album, simply titled Curtis, hit like a thunderclap. Released in 1970, it was a revolutionary blend of funk.
I'm going to just have to keep checking the OBS, man. I don't know why it's acting up on me again.
The album's cover featured Curtis
All right, now let's go to date so we ain't got to look.
not smiling. A man of thought, burden, and purpose. The lead track, Don't Worry, was a full-on warning shot to America.
That sound like Pop.
Curtis racism, inequality, and urban decay. It wasn't background music, it was wake-up music. Other tracks like Call for Perseverance wrapped in irresistible horn arrangements. The message was clear. Black pride wasn't just fashion, it was survival.
Tempo wasn't even right, see?
In 1971, he followed up with Roots, another deeply political and poetic album.
So let's go down to 183.
Mind preached unity and struggle with a preacher's cadence. And unlike many of his contemporaries, Curtis wasn't sugarcoating anything. His music didn't.
Ooh, I almost got it perfect. Let's try 184.
Then came Back to the World in 1973, an album that focused on the plight of black veterans returning from Vietnam. They had risked everything for a country that still treated them like second-class citizens. Curtis gave them a voice. Again. But
Nope, 183 was right. I guessed it right.
it was business.
Calculations, ain't nothing but math.
Records, his own record label. At a time when black artists were routinely exploited by white-owned labels, Curtis built his own empire. Curtis wasn't just about ownership. Curtis could now produce, write, perform, and release his music without consequence.
Yeah, it did something totally different. I need it. That's crazy. And it ain't getting none of the vocals. Just a little bit in the front. And at the end. Alright, let's figure out what pitch we want. Alright, so we got one called Be With already. Let me see. Let me make sure I didn't do this already.
Superfly, the album that changed film music. By 1972, Curtis made
Let me just open it up.
a voice for the voiceless. But what he did next would forever change how music and film talk.
I might have used this and don't even remember.
That year, Hollywood was cashing
Yup, sure did. So we're gonna have to go with something else. That's why I'm glad I named them certain things. And I do not remember this. That's kind of fun.
movie had its critics, even within the black community.
Alright,
Some saw it as glorifying crime. But then came Curtis.
let's get this thing out of here.
Curtis didn't just write a few songs for the film. He crafted an entire counter-narrative.
We picked that pretty quick anyway.
Showed flashy cars and drug money.
Did Barry Manilow.
Lyrics told the real story.
What's Breathless? Hold on, I'm in the wrong folder.
Emptiness behind the empty.
There we go.
From the haunting opener, Little Child Running Wild, to the razor-sharp critique and push. Curtis dissected the system that forced people into
Used that already. What was that thing I was listening to earlier? When I was messing with the MPC.
Africa.
That's hard.
He used a commercial. And he did it his way. Track didn't just support a movie, it
Wish I could just hit random. Ooh.
When I gave all of my love. Just try. Take a little.
More eloquently than politicians now couldn't lift a finger. Just like not by critics.
I think I used that. Yeah, I did.
Be the truth if you can and low. Do you believe in yourself?
With the help of therapists, family, and a community that refused to let him disappear, Curtis learned
Seems like
he couldn't play guitar anymore. He couldn't produce with his hands. But his spirit, the one that had survived the breeding racism, poverty, and music industry, remained intact. In the late 1990s, Curtis began working on his final album, It was nothing short of a miracle.
That's hard.
Strapped to a specialized bed with assistants helping him breathe between takes, Curtis recorded the entire album by himself. He would sing in short bursts, one line, one phrase at a time, then pause to recover. It was a grueling, agonizing process.
First love.
I like that. Okay, we're gonna put that in the Mimic sampler.
Part of it was image. Curtis never played the fame game. He didn't chase glossy pop. and Stevie flirted with crossover success, Curtis stayed rooted in raw truth.
Where Jerry at? Where you at?
Isn't always profitable, and Curtis's activism wasn't performative.
There you go.
It was embedded in every lyric, every album cover, every decision. He didn't just sing about revolution; he lived it.
I'm gonna do it like the homie Stone was doing it.
Have to beg white executives for studio time. He hired his community. He mentored quietly, without press releases
Tripping.
or PR campaigns. But in an industry obsessed with spectacle, humility often goes unnoticed. The 80s and 90s brought new waves of music. MTV Flash, hip hop's rise, pop's digital polish. Curtis's falsetto, his guitar, his protest soul, they didn't fit the mold anymore. Radio stations ignored him. Record stores relegated his albums to the back. Even after his tragic accident in 1990, when Curtis continued creating music with only his voice, major labels didn't line up to
All right, let me put some volume on this.
fundraising concert, no widespread tribute album, no Grammy Lifetime Achievement Award.
Turn that
only a still
compressor
life.
up.
Meanwhile, artists who had sampled his sound, borrowed his style, and echoed his messages thrived. Ironically, Curtis Mayfield's fingerprints were all over the music charts, just not in his name. His songs were sampled by Public Enemy, Ice Cube, Lauryn Hill, and Kanye West. His political soul became the blueprint for neo soul, for conscious rap, for every artist trying to balance rhythm with message. And yet the man himself was left in the shadows. It's a strange kind of injustice, being too important to ignore, yet too radical to celebrate. In interviews, Curtis rarely complained, but his close friends say he felt it. The industry's silence, the public's fame, the contrast between the depth of his contribution and the shallowness of recognition. He watched peers receive standing ovations, major label reissues, tribute specials. Curtis got respect, but from the streets, not the suits. And still, he gave. He never stopped believing in music. Never stopped writing, even when his hands couldn't move. Never stopped hoping that his songs might still plant seeds. Curtis Mayfield didn't fade because he was irrelevant. He faded because truth tellers are dangerous, especially when they don't flinch. But here's what they couldn't erase: the echoes. In every socially conscious verse, in every gospel-tinged soul sample, in every song that dares to ask why, Curtis is there. He may have been neglected, but he was never gone. Final years and death. A warrior's farewell. As the 1990s unfolded, Curtis Mayfield found himself in a different kind of spotlight. One not bathed in applause or fame, but in resilience. Paralyzed from the neck down after the devastating stage accident in 1990, he was now confined to a wheelchair, dependent on others for even the smallest tasks. The man who once moved crowds with his guitar now can no longer move his own fingers, but he still moved people with his voice, his mind, and his spirit. Curtis didn't hide from the world after the accident. In fact, he remained more present than many artists half his age. He gave interviews, mentored younger musicians, and most miraculously, continued making music. His final album, New World Order, 1996, is thus a swan song in Nora's spiritual journey.
I'm gonna leave that like that.
Was a battle. He recorded the entire album lying flat, singing one line at a time, resting for hours between phrases. It was excruciating and extraordinary. And yet, New World Order wasn't soaked in self-pity. It was full of hope, defiance, and love. He sang about survival, faith, the state of the world, and the pain of watching so many of the same injustices he fought against in the 60s still risen in America's soul. Worn down by nearly a decade of immobility and illness, was failing. On December 26, 1999, Curtis Mayfield passed away at the age of 57 in Roswell, Georgia. He died quietly, surrounded by loved ones. No grand farewell, no final tour, just a peaceful exit from a life that had never been easy, but had always been meaningful. But the silence didn't last long. The tributes began to pour in, not from award shows or talk shows, but from the hearts of artists who owed him everything. Lauryn Hill, D'Angelo, Erykah Badu, Common, Chuck D. A foundation. They spoke of his bravery, his innovation, his willingness to say what others wouldn't. Stevie Wonder, a spiritual warrior. Aretha Franklin called him the truest soul brother of us all. Even the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame recognized him He didn't make music to escape the world. He made music to change it. Curtis Mayfield's death was not and yet, the music lives on. Legacy, prodigal soul, soundtrack of a movement. Curtis Mayfield didn't just write songs, he wrote scriptures. His songs were long after his voice grew quiet, his message continued. You see, while the mainstream buried Curtis under the weight of nostalgia, the streets kept him alive. Hip-hop in particular found salvation in his records. Into radio. His music was already speaking truth to power. Rappers just turned up the volume. Strings of Move On Up or Touch the Sky. Ice-T borrowed Pusherman to soundtrack Urban Tales. Gospel, funk, and consciousness. His music laid the blueprint. Yet every word thundered. Who never ran for office, yet led marches. The industry finally recognized this was fame as a solo artist.
Almost at the end. Let me make sure we still rolling. Yeah, we still rolling.
Received the Grammy Lifetime Achievement Award. Curtis remained criminally underplayed. His face wasn't on murals. Where People Get Ready became a hymn of resistance. When HBO's The Wire opened each season with gritty realism and Curtis's ghost in the background, you could feel it. This man's music, not frozen in the In 2000,
All right, so we're gonna go real fast. All right, let's lay that down. Make sure we still rolling. We still rolling. That's too fast.
Mixing into it is going to be much easier than trying to get everything to have that same sense of magic without it.
That's much more reasonable. Let that sample breathe. That last note can be a little earlier. We going crazy already, kid. This definitely ain't gonna sound like this, but I might as well have quarantized it. Everything damn near perfect on the line. Alright, do I want another variation of that? Just on some random making mistakes, but it still sound good.
As co-founder of The Temptations, Eddie Kendricks helped define the sound of Motown. Few remembered his name. He left the peak of their fame, pursued a solo career on his own terms, and quietly battled a disease that had taken him far too soon. This is the story of a soul legend who gave everything to the music, yet was buried under its spotlight. Celebrity Underrated, the Eddie Kendricks story. Early life, from Alabama churches to Detroit dreams. Before the screaming fans, before the Motown suits and matching steps, there was a boy named Dan. Born December 17, 1939, in the rural town of Wheeling Springs, Alabama. Eddie James Kendrick entered a world where radio was king, gospel was gospel, and your voice would be your only ticket out. He was raised in Birmingham during the Jim Crow era, where segregation wasn't just policy, it was everyday life. But within those tight-knit black communities, there was always one place for him to church. And it was there, beneath stained glass and wooden pews, that Eddie found his home. His voice, light, clear, impossibly smooth, was unlike anything people had heard. By the time he was a teenager, grown folks were turning in their seats just to watch that skinny kid with a high voice sing like an angel. He wasn't alone. In the same Birmingham streets, another young man
I'm gonna try to lay it down
Eddie and
fast.
Paul clicked instantly. Ambition and sound. Together they formed a group called the Cavaliers, performing at church functions, talent shows, anywhere they could be. The harmonies came natural, but their dreams were bigger than Alabama. They didn't just want applause, they wanted it. In 1957, they made the kind of bold move that separates dreamers from
Alright, so that's gonna be. I still did it on point. I'm on point today, man.
the Motor City wasn't just building cars.
That one's gonna have to be at a slower tempo, so I can drag it out more.
And the hope that your next note could change your life.
So let me slide this position a little back.
Reformed their group as the Primes, a polished act that began gaining global traction. Managed by Milton James, Primes dazzled small clubs in geography and Belgium. Jenkins, seeing opportunity, also created a female-powered cartoon group.
it's not gonna sound all the way right because obviously I gotta slow that down, but I don't want to change the tempo from the first one. So we're gonna try to keep it all uniform and then spit it out in order. We're gonna save this as Fertile Land. Wait, no, I ain't got nothing else by Buddy. Jerry Mulligan.
Jobs were scarce, competition was ruthless, and many gifted singers faded into factory life or street corners. But Eddie wasn't interested in fading. By the early 1960s, fame intervened again. Eddie and
Alright, so I'm gonna have to start spitting these out.
For 2 years, the group struggled to score a hit. They recorded song after song, some soulful.
So let me name this. Alright, second C. Alright, so let's get the name of the sample in here.
Sharpened their choreography under Charlie Atkins and polished their harmonies with relentless discipline. In the center of it all was Eddie Kendricks.
So this first one's gonna be 185 BPM. And I'm gonna bounce this one out. Oh, let me mess with it.
He had a calm authority, a control that made every note feel intentional. Then came 1964. Sony Motown, and the song called The Way You Do the Things You Do. It was amazing and featured Eddie Money. The song hit number 11 just like that. The joke was dead.
Alright, so we're gonna change that to 184. That's all I want that one to breathe. So we're gonna bounce this one in place, and it's gonna be named 184. And we're gonna get this one right. Let's listen. Oh, I did not mean to do that. We gotta mess with the effects a little bit. rid of all that top noise. All right. Now I can bounce that in place. I feel good about that. And that one's going to be 184. Let's figure out the tempo for this one. Definitely going to be slower. I had to relay it.
For Eddie, it wasn't triumph. It was survival. He was devastated, but determined. The music wasn't done with him yet. Solo stardom. Success on his own terms. When Eddie Kendricks walked away from the Temptations in 1971, many in the industry quietly assumed he wouldn't last. He wasn't the loudest, the most visible, or the one who commanded headlines. They'd forgotten something crucial. Eddie had a voice. And more than that, he had vision. Signing with Motown as a solo artist, he went to work almost immediately, teaming up with producer Frank Wilson. There were no Then came the breakthrough. In 1973, Eddie released the single "Keep On Truckin'," a funky up-tempo groove with a defiant edge. The track shot straight to #1 on the Billboard Hot 100. Critics and fans alike were stunned. The man who had walked away from one of the greatest soul groups in history had just topped the charts on his own. In 1974, he followed it with "Boogie Down," another top 10 smash, then "Shoeshine Boy," and a string of albums that kept his name relevant throughout the mid-1970s. His falsetto, as light as ever, had aged into something even more expressive, less polished.
All right, let me try to lay it down on that tempo. We're
Without
gonna move this
afraid
over here
of
just in case.
temptations, he had the space to explore
I'm gonna do some
funk,
feels.
dance grooves, jazz-inflected soul, and introspective ballads. This was his Motown, his rules. But while the music soared, the man behind it became hard to reach. The spotlight never sat easily on Eddie. He wasn't made for red carpets or interviews. Away from the stage, he was quiet, introspective, even aloof. Fame had taken its toll, and without the daily camaraderie of his Temptations brothers, a certain loneliness crept in. He missed them. Despite the drama and disagreements, those years had meant something. The bond he'd shared with Paul Williams was irreplaceable, and David Shuffin, volatile as he was, remained a creative kindred spirit. Eddie stayed in touch sporadically, but the distance between them, both emotional and literal, grew with each passing year. During this time, Eddie also underwent a spiritual transformation. Tired of the entertainment industry's superficialities and the emotional wounds it left behind, he began quietly exploring Islam. He wasn't public about his beliefs. He didn't make grand statements or convert for headlines. But friends noticed a change. He became more reflective, more centered, more withdrawn. The man who once graced magazine covers in silk suits now sought silence, balance, and truth beyond the microphone. By the late 1970s, the hits began to slow. Music
I'm gonna just fix that part. All right, let it go around one more time, and I'm bounce this one in place at 160. So I'm gonna keep them and mute it and make a copy of them. So this is gonna be 160. Bounce in place. Then I'm gonna copy it down here and mute this track. Now let's see what this sound like at 160. So I'm gonna do both of those.
The absence of Paul Williams was felt like a ghost between them. Paul had struggled in silence for years. Alcoholism, depression, and health issues stemming from sickle cell anemia.
Both of those at 160, just to have some variation.
Able to bear the weight of it all, Paul took
Copy
his
them both
own
down.
Detroit alleyway with a single gunshot. The news
Mute
rushed.
this whole track and mute these just in case.
But
Let's see how this slower. Alright. We gonna do the
For years, Eddie and Otis Williams had barely spoken. Hurt feelings, old power struggles, and too many years of silence.
we gonna do that one chop I was trying to do. I think it's gonna be good at this tempo.
In the late 1980s, he made attempts to reconcile. There were no dramatic apologies, no long letters, just honest conversations, small steps. Otis later said those talks were meaningful. The two men who once couldn't see eye to eye had finally found peace in middle age. But just as reconciliation began blooming,
It's too slow.
another fight arrived. This one internal. In the mid-1980s, Eddie Kendricks was diagnosed with lung cancer. A lifetime smoker, he was no stranger to the toll of attention. But still, the diagnosis felt surreal. The voice that had once soared above stages and radio waves was now being choked by disease. He kept it most private, telling only close friends and family. He didn't want pity.
I might have to just do the
Even while battling cancer, Eddie continued to tour. He performed with David Ruffin and Dennis Edwards in a trio act. that
Alright, let me try to lay
ignited
it down.
interest in their legacy. They played theaters, clubs, and festivals, not as chart toppers, but as survivors. Fans
Alright, I'm gonna
still
program this one.
They still knew
And I had to use the restroom. Let me let y'all listen to this for a second.
my imagination. It wasn't
For
the
2
sound.
seconds. I had to use it bad.
The pain grew worse, but Eddie pressed on. His performances became more poignant, each note harder to reach, each breath more painful. But he never lip-synced, never faked it. He gave everything he had, even as his body was giving up on him. By 1992, the cancer had spread. Eddie returned to Birmingham, Alabama to be near his family, back to the roots where his voice was first born in those dusty church pews. The same city where he had first dreamed of something bigger, where harmony wasn't just music, it was a way of surviving. And now, as his days grew shorter, Eddie wasn't bitter. The final tour, singing through the suffering. By the late 1980s, Eddie Kendricks was living on borrowed time. The cancer was no longer just a quiet threat, it was a constant companion. His once smooth falsetto now faltered rare. Breathing was difficult. Standing for long sets exhausted him. But Eddie refused to retreat into silence. He wasn't done yet. Not with music, not with fans, not with the legacy he hoped to create. So they kept moving. Each one with David Ruffin and Dennis Edwards, billing themselves as a supergroup of Temptation Island. The shows weren't glamorous, no massive arenas or big label support. But night after night, fans showed up to see the three legends on stage again. And Eddie,
Alright, let me
even
bring it
through
up to this
pain,
point.
still reached for those high notes. Each performance was an act of defiance, a way of saying, you don't get to write my ending. I do. But cancer doesn't negotiate. By 1991, it had taken a toll not even Eddie could hide. He had lost weight. His posture slouched. Friends said he barely ate, barely slept. But he still rehearsed, still showed up, still sang.
Alright, I'm gonna have to try to play it at least. I can't be
On
lazy.
June 10th, 1991, the world gathered in Detroit to say goodbye to David Ruffin, who had died of a drug overdose just days before. It was a somber service held at the New Bethel Baptist Church, the same church once led by Aretha Franklin's father, Reverend C.L. Franklin. The pews were filled with Motown royalty, Stevie Wonder, Martha Reeves, Mary Wilson, Barry Gordy. And then there was Eddie. He looked frail,
be way slower.
A long coat hung loosely on his thinning frame. Friends had to help him into the church.
I'm trying to get it
Most didn't know
on the
how
tempo,
bad
so when I speed it up, it's gonna
Close he
be
was to
still
the
on
edge
point.
himself. But Eddie had insisted on coming. Not as a star, not as a performer, as a brother. When the time came, he rose, slowly, painfully, and walked to the front of the church. The music started. My Girl. That opening riff, that unmistakable classic, hung heavy in the air. A song he had sung 1,000 times. A song he helped make eternal. But now it was different. Eddie stood there, holding the mic with trembling hands. His voice, thin but true, filled the sanctuary. Not with perfection, but with raw emotion. Each note was laced with heartbreak. He sang through tears, through grief, through cancer. It was no longer just a song. It was a goodbye to David, to Paul, to the magic they once had. That moment, captured in photographs, whispered about in Motown lore, was his last public performance. After that, Eddie went home to Birmingham, Alabama. He left behind the stage lights, the tour buses, the rehearsals. In his final months, he was surrounded by family and close friends. He didn't talk much about the music business anymore. He spoke about
Okay, I
peace,
got it.
about God, about letting go. The man who had once soared on stage was now resting in the city where it all began. The place where dreams were first stitched into gospel
Hit the wrong
hymns and
one.
doo-wop harmonies on street corners. Birmingham wasn't just home, it was memory. On October 5th, 1992, Eddie Kendricks passed away at age 52. There were no headlines, no national tributes, no big reissues, just a quiet
I didn't
ending
do all of them.
for a voice that had once set the world on fire. But for those who knew, for those who listened, they would never forget that falsetto, that haunting, ethereal sound that made you feel like love itself was floating in the air. He died far from the spotlight, but his voice never left it. Legacy, the voice that never faded. Eddie Kendricks may have died far from the spotlight, but his voice never did. In the years following his passing, a quiet but powerful movement began. Not in the headlines or record labels, but in headphones, studios, and live sets across generations. His legacy didn't need a revival. It had never truly gone away, because that falsetto, that haunting featherlight tenor, had woven its
Dang, I feel like I was lazy, but I'm gonna use this one.
You hear it in the blueprint songs of Philip Maxwell, whose debut album, Robin Hang's Sweet,
And I'ma
provides
quarantize
a
these
central
things.
vintage soul for a new era. You hear it in the layered harmonies of D'Angelo,
Let's keep it at
who
116.
married gospel grit with falsetto whispers straight from Eddie's lineage. You hear it in Usher, whose control and emotion in the upper register nod directly to Kendricks's blueprint. Even Prince, decades earlier, had spoken reverently of Eddie, calling him one of the only voices that made you feel like you were levitating. And long before these artists became icons, they were always sitting in their bedrooms, mimicking those high notes, trying to understand how someone could sing that softly and still sound that powerful. But
Don't stop when it place at 147. Let's make sure we still rolling. Yeah, we still rolling. I'm gonna snatch this down. Take that down to there. Mute this. Mute this. And I'm gonna minimize these, and that's just for reference. All right, so let me get this right.
Streets in Birmingham were renamed in his honor. In Detroit, fans began organizing small Eddie Kendricks appreciation nights, spinning his records in local clubs, reciting his lyrics like scripture.
Gotta start that earlier.
It's in the way new artists still chase that feeling he gave the world. The high note that sounds like heartbreak. The soft phrasing that carries more weight than any scream. It's in the reverence of musicians who know that singing isn't just about range, it's about reach. And no one reached like Eddie. His voice could float, could plead, could seduce, could heal. For every listener discovering him on a late-night playlist, for every producer digging through crates and stumbling upon that perfect falsetto, for every soul singer trying to figure out how to say "I love you" without raising their voice. Eddie's legacy isn't just what he left behind, it's what he made possible. Why was he forgotten? Ego, industry, and the cost of leaving. For all the beauty Eddie Kendricks gave the world, there's one lingering question that won't go away. Why don't more people talk about him? He had the voice.
Changing the actual keys.
He had the legacy. So how did Eddie Kendricks, co-founder of the Temptations, solo hitmaker, soul pioneer, end up as one of the most overlooked legends in black music history? The truth is uncomfortable, and it didn't start after his death. It
Ooh, that's it.
walked away.
Them slices, boy.
Temptations in
I might have to
1971.
roll
It wasn't just a
some
selection.
up. Let me get this next one right.
For many fans, the Temps were a unit, a brotherhood, and leaving that brotherhood felt like betrayal. But for Eddie, it was survival. He craved creative freedom, hated the tension, and refused to be just another cog in the Motown machine. But in the music industry, walking away from a hit group often means walking away from protection, from promotion, from industry
It's the
goodwill,
same exact
especially when you leave on your own terms.
algorithm readings.
Despite its historic contributions, was never known for playing fair with those who programmed. Internal politics often dictated who got pushed, who got buried. If Berry Gordy didn't believe in your solo prospects, or worse, saw you as a threat to the brand, you could easily find your name omitted from the Motown narrative.
Oh, those are
Eddie
early.
didn't play the game. He didn't chase TV interviews. He didn't smile for cameras he didn't trust. He didn't reinvent himself with gimmicks. He stayed quiet, spiritual, and private. Qualities that don't translate well to headlines or awards. While other Motown stars made comebacks or leaned into nostalgia tours, Eddie often stayed in the background, even when he was still performing. He wasn't bitter, but he also wasn't loud. In a media world that rewards visibility, Eddie Kendricks was invisible by choice and penalized for it. And then there's the deeper, more
Okay.
painful truth.
Let's go to the next one.
Black artists' legacies are often conditional. Unless their names are constantly marketed, packaged, or repurposed for new audiences, they risk being forgotten, no matter how influential they were. The industry rewards what's easy to brand, and Eddie's story was anything but. He didn't die young enough to
Save this
become
thing.
big.
Feel like I've been on here
He
a
didn't
minute.
live publicly enough to remain in pop culture memory. He didn't create controversy. He created art, quietly, brilliantly. And for a black man in America, especially in the 70s and 80s, quiet brilliance wasn't always enough. Even within Motown retrospectives, Eddie was often reduced to the falsetto one. His complexity flattened, his solo success glossed over. While David Ruffin became the tragic star, and
That's perfect.
Williams, the chronicler, Eddie remained the ghost, the voice without a tabloid story, the man without a biopic.
Ooh, this one got a lot of chops. Oh yeah, because it got all them rapid.
Saw him as difficult, hard
These
to
is on
manage,
point. I ain't got to mess with these.
but what they really meant was, he didn't beg for relevance, and he paid for that. Today, if you ask a casual music fan to name the Temptations, they might remember David Ruffin, maybe Otis, maybe Melvin's deep voice. But the man who sang Just My Imagination, the man who led Get Ready, the one whose falsetto defined an era. Too often, he's met with silence. Eddie Kendricks didn't fade away because he stopped creating. He faded because the industry didn't know how to market someone who wasn't loud, dramatic, or tragic. He was a quiet man in a noisy world, a gentle soul in a ruthless business. And in that gap between his humility and the industry's hunger for spectacle, his legacy was lost in the shuffle. But for those who listened, really listened, Eddie Kendricks never needed the spotlight to shine. He just needed your ears and your heart. What do we owe Eddie Kendricks?
So I need 2 of those.
He was the heart of a generation. Eddie Kendricks gave us more than melodies. He gave us memory, that first crush, that summer slow dance, that Sunday morning cleaning with the stereo on full blast. His voice was the soundtrack, not just to a moment, but to a movement. And yet, so many people know the song, but not the name. They hum along to Just My Imagination. They groove to Keep On Truckin'. But they don't realize the man behind those notes was a trailblazer who broke barriers without breaking himself. He didn't scream for attention. He didn't
Do my little
self-destruct for fame.
signature.
He simply created
See what
and
it
hoped
sound like.
the world would notice.
Cause I don't like how that hit come in.
So now the question becomes,
There we
what
go.
do we owe Eddie Kendricks? We owe him remembrance. We owe him respect. We owe him his name back. Because legends don't fade. They're just waiting for us to look back and recognize them. What's your favorite Eddie Kendricks song? Solo or with the Temptations? Tell us in the comments. And if you believe voices like Eddie's should never be forgotten, like and subscribe for more stories about the icons who shaped the soundtrack of our lives, but never got their flowers.
That's a much better transition. Ooh, and it got them cutoffs. See how long we been on? Hour and 20. This is custom catered, man. You. All right, so let's put some drums on this thing. Really, I want to add some instrumentation. Man, it's early, man. We're gonna do a part 2 later too, so let's get down, man. Acting like I ain't did 2.5 hour streams before if it's needed. We got the sample right though. Oh, I wanted to do this. I'm gonna have to roll another one up.
You know the hits, but do you know the man who built it all and got left behind? He discovered Teddy Pendergrass, led a group that changed soul music forever, yet died in silence, forgotten by the industry he helped define. This is the story of Harold Melvin, the visionary behind the Blue Notes, and one of soul music's most underrated legends. Early life, North Philly's hidden star. Born on June 25th, 1939, in the heart of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, Harold Melvin grew up during a time of change, both in music and in America. Philadelphia in the 1940s and 50s.
Ooh, let me put some sauce on that.
With culture, rhythm, and soul. Inspired by the soaring harmonies of doo-wop pioneers like the Drifters and the Moonglows, the Blue Notes began crafting a sound grounded gospel, but leaning towards something new, something slicker, more urbane and emotionally raw. They hustled through the Philly club circuit, performing at talent shows and school functions, and anywhere they could find a mic. But the early years were anything but glamorous. Recording opportunities were sparse, and when they came, they often let go. In 1956, the Blue Notes released their first single, If You Love, Real Love, but it failed to make it national. Over the next decade, the group would cycle through several lineup changes, and each time they felt close to a breakthrough, it would slip just out of reach. The record industry was booming, especially for young black artists with no big label backing.
I guess the tempo being changed a little bit makes it better.
Crooked managers, and the sting of being overlooked. But instead of quitting, he doubled down. His perfectionism sharpened. His leadership style became firm. Some called him a drill sergeant, others a musical genius. One thing was clear: Harold Melvin wasn't going anywhere. He kept the Blue Notes alive through sheer willpower. When members left, he replaced them. When styles shifted, he adapted. He believed, perhaps more than anyone,
I'm gonna have to cut into that trumpet.
and by the end of the 1960s,
Where's my effects at? Oh.
decades of grinding and obscurity, Harold Melvin was about to discover the missing piece to his puzzle. A young drummer with a baritone voice that could set a stage on fire. But before that storm would rise, Harold had to survive the quiet struggle of being North Philly's best-kept secret. Formation of Harold Melvin and the Blue Notes. A leader emerges. By the late 1960s, the Blue Notes were no longer just a doo-wop group chasing the ghost of a hit. They were something else, more refined, more determined. And that shift had everything to do with Harold Melvin. While many artists of the era drifted with the changing tides of sound, Harold was steering. He didn't just want to ride the soul wave, he wanted to shape it. Under his leadership, the group's identity began to evolve. He took the raw doo-wop foundation they had started with and infused it with a deeper sense of musicality, lush harmonies, smoother arrangements, and a stylistic polish that reflected the rising Philadelphia soul scene. Melvin wasn't just a performer. He became a strategist, overseeing everything from rehearsals to wardrobe, from the songbook to the group's stage persona. It was around this time that Harold did something bold. He put his name on the front of the group. Harold Melvin and the Blue Notes. To some, it was egotistical. To Harold, it was branding. He was the constant. While group members came and went, he remained at the helm, and he wanted the world to know it. But the road to fame was still paved with disappointment. Through the late 60s, the group recorded with several small labels: Josie Records, Arctic Records, Checker Records. But the results were mostly local buzz, no national fire. Each single came with hope, and each failure hit harder. Still, Harold pressed on. The lineup changed more times than fans could count. Melvin was notoriously tough on members.
Put a little big crush on there. That sound crazy.
In rehearsals and performances,
I hope the last part sound good.
but it also created friction. Some left because of creative differences, others simply left because of the standards. And yet, despite all the turbulence, Harold kept refining the group's sound. Then, in 1970, everything changed. A young man named Theodore DeReese Pendergrass walked into Harold's orbit. He was hired not as a lead singer, but as a drummer. But that didn't last long. Melvin quickly realized that Teddy's voice, raspy, soulful, magnetic, was a once-in-a-generation gift. The kind of voice that would carry heartbreak and revolution in a single note. Harold made a bold move. He pushed his own voice aside and placed Teddy out front. It was a decision that would make the group legends and ultimately spark the power struggle that would haunt their legacy. By 1971, with Teddy Pendergrass now leading vocals and the group freshly signed to Philadelphia International Records run by hitmakers Kenny Gamble and Leon Huff,
What do I want to use? Pro Q.
It was raw, it was thunderous, it was velvet wrapped in fire, and it stopped him cold. Harold knew talent when he heard it, and Teddy wasn't just talented, he was electric.
Yeah, smash down on them high notes.
Harold made one of the most pivotal decisions of his career. He moved Teddy from behind the drum kit to the center mic, and just like that, the trajectory of the group and soul music changed forever. Around the same time, another critical piece of the puzzle fell into place. Philadelphia International Records, the new soul label founded by the powerhouse duo Kenny Gamble and Leon Huff, was looking for acts to shape their polished, orchestrated sound.
Yeah, I'm liking this. I slick just want to add some add some hi-hats and start, but I'm gonna start wanting to add drums and shit. Oh, I know exactly what I'm going to. Sky. Going to the sky.
Then came the moment that changed everything. If you don't know me by now, it was tender. It was agonizing. It was timeless. Released in 1972, the single shot straight to #1 on the Billboard R&B chart and reached #3 on the Hot 100. It didn't just introduce the world to the Blue Notes, it introduced the world to Teddy Pendergrass. Audiences were stunned. Who was this man with the preacher's fire and the lover's ache in his voice? Many assumed he was Harold Melvin. And Harold? He didn't correct them. Because while Teddy sang the songs, Harold had crafted the group's image, shaped the harmonies, and built the platform they now stood on. It was his machine, and Teddy was just the engine. But as the hits piled up, that illusion became harder to maintain. Next came The Love I Lost in 1973, a heartbreak anthem with an irresistible disco groove. It reached #1 R&B and #7 pop, and many credit it as one of the first true disco records. Then came Wake Up Everybody, 1975, a socially conscious ballad urging listeners to take action in a troubled world. Harold, known for his tough discipline and tight grip, didn't take well to being outshone even by someone he had elevated. Teddy, ambitious and increasingly frustrated with the group dynamics and financial arrangements, began to see his own path. Still, in those years between 1972 and 1975, Harold Melvin and the Blue Notes were unstoppable. Every release climbed the charts. Their style, smooth but powerful, romantic yet political, was a perfect match for the moment. Backed by Gamble and Huff's shimmering arrangements and driven by Teddy's voice, they embodied the sophistication of Philly soul. But in success, their greatest challenge was rising fast. Ego, control, and the inevitable pull of solo stardom. And soon Harold Melvin would be forced to choose between holding on to the group he created or watching the voice he discovered walk away. Success, ego, and fractures. The glory years. From the outside, everything looked perfect. By 1974, Harold Melvin and the Blue Notes were everywhere. Radio, television, packed concert halls. Their songs weren't just charting, they were Sources close to the group say there were frequent disagreements between Harold and Teddy over creative decisions, performance arrangements, and most of all, money. Harold controlled the finances. As founder and manager, he structured the group's pay in a way that didn't reflect Teddy's frontman status. Despite being the centerpiece of the group's success, Teddy wasn't earning what he believed he deserved, and he wasn't shy about letting people know it. There were rumors that Harold was shortchanging the band, that he refused to renegotiate deals, that tensions boiled into shouting matches backstage. Neither man ever confirmed the worst of it publicly, but the divide was undeniable. It was a classic story. The visionary who built the stage versus the star who stole the show. And the music industry, ever hungry for solo talent, began whispering in Teddy's ear. By 1975, the tension was impossible to hide. On stage, the performances remained flawless. Tight harmonies, elegant choreography, and Teddy's commanding vocals. But off stage, the brotherhood was fractured. What started as artistic friction had grown into something deeper. A battle for control, recognition, and legacy. Harold refused to let go. Teddy refused to stay in the background. And slowly, painfully, the center began to crack. They were still producing hits, still winning over crowds. But the energy had shifted. What once felt like unity now felt like a tug of war. Each performance was both a triumph and a reminder that this couldn't last. Harold Melvin had finally brought his vision to life, but the cost of success was now staring him in the face. And soon, the man who had once elevated Teddy Pendergrass would have to face the unthinkable. His star was ready to leave him behind. Quiet battles, illness, isolation, and the final curtain. In 1975, the inevitable happened. Teddy Pendergrass left Harold Melvin and the Blue Notes. To fans, it felt sudden. But to those behind the curtain, the writing had been on the wall for months. The tension, the financial disputes, the competing egos, none of it could be contained any longer. Teddy was offered a solo deal by Philadelphia International Records, and with the full support of Gamble and Huff, he stepped into the spotlight alone. The decision would catapult him to superstardom. For Harold Melvin, it marked the beginning of a long, quiet descent. Without Teddy's thunderous vocals and magnetic presence, the Blue Notes lost their spark in the eyes of the public. Harold, determined not to let the group die, restructured the lineup. He brought in David Ebo to replace Pendergrass and kept the wheels turning. The group released several albums post-Teddy, including Reaching for the World, 1977, and Now is the Time, 1977. But the momentum was gone. The hits dried up, the crowds shrank, and the spotlight moved on. Harold kept grinding. Through the late 70s and early 80s, he pushed the Blue Notes to keep recording, keep touring, keep existing. But commercial success eluded them. The soul landscape was shifting toward disco, then funk, then the rise of hip-hop. The smooth, orchestrated Philly soul sound began to feel like a relic, and Harold, once a visionary of that sound, was now seen by many as its past, not its future. The 1980s were especially hard, with Teddy climbing the charts as a solo artist, despite his tragic car accident in 1982 that left him paralyzed. Harold struggled to keep his legacy relevant. He watched from the sidelines as others soared with the sound he had helped craft. There was no solo breakthrough for Harold, no comeback narrative, no glossy media features, just a slow fade into the background. Financial problems began to mount. Reports suggest that Harold had trouble managing his business affairs. Royalties were slim, and with no current hits, revenue from the Blue Notes' glory days began to dwindle. He performed when he could, booked modest shows when promoters still remembered, but the lavish his ability to perform, to travel, even to speak publicly. His once commanding presence grew quiet. The man who had built an empire with his voice and vision was now retreating into a private battle that few saw, and even fewer acknowledged. Unlike many of his peers, Harold never got a Hollywood ending. No biopics, no induction into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, no Lifetime Achievement Awards on national television. While his music lived on, sampled and covered by new generations, his name faded deeper into the footnotes of soul history. On March 24th, 1997, Harold Melvin died from complications of a stroke. He was 57 years old. The news barely made headlines. For the man who had laid the foundation of the Blue Notes, who had discovered one of the greatest soul voices of the 20th century, who had crafted songs that defined a generation, his final chapter was heartbreakingly quiet. No grand tributes, no sold-out memorials, just silence. But maybe that was fitting, because Harold Melvin had always been the man behind the curtain, the architect, the director, the strategist. He built the machine, but never stood in its glow. And in the end, that silence reflected a life that was never about fame, but about control, creation, and legacy. Still, the question lingers. Why was the man who built the stage never given his final vow? Legacy. The sound that built an era. When the history of soul music is told, certain names always rise to the top. Marvin Gaye, Aretha Franklin, Curtis Mayfield, Teddy Pendergrass. But for every legend in the spotlight, there's someone who built the platform they stood on. For Philadelphia Soul, that man was Harold Melvin. Though his name may not appear on every playlist or tribute concert, the sound he helped shape is woven into the very fabric of American music. Harold Melvin and the Blue Notes were more than just a group. They were a blueprint. Their fusion of raw emotion, gospel-rooted harmonies, and lush orchestration helped define the sound of Philadelphia that dominated the airwaves in the 1970s. With the production magic of Gamble and Huff and Teddy Pendergrass's voice out front, Melvin's group helped usher in a smoother, more polished version of soul. One that could carry love ballads and political anthems with equal weight. Even after Harold faded from the spotlight, his influence didn't. R&B artists from the 80s to the 2000s cited the Blue Notes as a foundational inspiration. Mary J. Blige, Usher, Alicia Keys, Boyz II Men, they all carry traces of Harold's sonic architecture in their work.
Alright, let's get it.
As the genre exploded in the late 80s and 90s, producers like DJ
What we looking like on time?
Dre, the RZA,
And I'm glad I checked it, cause we need to restart.
looking for soul samples with weight and meaning, Harold Melvin and the Blue Notes became
Didn't even check the time. 1:47. We gonna get out of there real quick. Gonna lay some drums. Let me get these hi hats. go eighth notes.
singing its biggest hits, and the man singing those hits became so famous, he erased the name that launched him. But Harold never corrected them, not loudly anyway. That silence, the music industry, like Hollywood, loves the face. It loves the story of the man and the sound. And in Teddy Pendergrass, they found everything it needed: the voice, the looks, the sex appeal, the tragedy, the triumph. He was easy to market. His image sold records, and his voice moved them. Gamble and Huff saw it. The label saw it. Fans saw it. From the moment the group broke through, the label's promotional machine leaned heavily into Teddy. Teddy launched his solo career. Many
So I'm gonna do some velocity changes on these.
Melvin was a real person. He wasn't flat.
If I want to add some rolls, I'll probably do a whole nother snare. I'm not gonna do nothing though. I'm gonna just keep it simple. What we doing with this?
Industry that often equates charisma with value.
Uh,
Harold's behind-the-scenes brilliance was easy to overlook. There's also an uncomfortable
that's perfect.
didn't chase celebrity and didn't conform to the grateful genius trope the public loves. He was a businessman. He was demanding. He made executive decisions. And the industry rarely celebrates black men in that role, especially when their contributions can't be packaged into a soundbite or a single chart topping voice. Worse still, his decision to put his name on the group meant to solidify his identity as the creator of that role. When Teddy Star arose, the name Harold Melvin and the Blue Notes only deepened the confusion. People assumed Harold Melvin was the one with the money. And when Teddy left, the myth stayed. And because Harold never had a major solo career, no breakout on his own, there was no cast narrative to set the record straight. He slipped into the shadows of the very stage he built. History is littered with names like Harold Melvin, uncredited geniuses who laid the groundwork for others to shine. He wasn't just forgotten, he was mistaken for someone else. And when he died, there was no global tribute, no rock hall induction, no Grammy Lifetime Achievement Award. Just a few quiet headlines, a whisper where there should have been thunder. Harold Melvin's life was a case study in the price of leadership without fame, in how talent is often measured not by contribution, but by visibility, and in how, in the machinery of music, one turning the gears is rarely the one seen. But if you listen closely to the chords, the harmonies, the discipline, the emotional architecture of every Blue Notes track, you'll hear Harold's fingerprint on every beat. He may have been forgotten by his critics, but not by the music itself, because the spotlight wanes. Final reflections, the man behind the music. To some, Harold Melvin was difficult. To others, he was a genius. To many, he was both. Talk to anyone who worked with Harold Melvin bandmates, producers, engineers, and you'll hear a mix of admiration and frustration. He was known to be a perfectionist, a man who demanded excellence and had no patience for shortcuts. He urged the group for hours, drilling harmonies until every note hit with military precision. He was old school, strict, uncompromising. But those who stayed long enough saw something else: vision. He wasn't always easy, uncomfortably no pepper to come. But he had a sound in his head. He could hear the future before the rest of us did. That sound, the emotional storytelling, Just as Marvin followed, and in doing so left behind not just his hometown, but the ghosts of a troubled childhood. Some ghosts never stay behind for long. The quiet story.
And I'll put some variation to it.
Despite the accolades, the tour was
Alright, so we're gonna call it a wrap right there. Do something quick, real quick right here.
A soul legend, a national treasure, silenced not by drugs or the pressures of fame, but by the very man who brought him into this world. In the months leading up to his death, Marvin's life had become increasingly turbulent.
Hold on, Bella.
Comeback album Midnight Love, 1982, and its global hit Sexual Healing had reignited his fame. The pressures of touring, financial instability, and lingering drug use took a heavy toll. He moved back into his parents' home in late 1983, emotionally fragile and seeking refuge. But what he found instead was more conflict, especially with his troubled
Let's go. True Phase, episode 91. We got this thing.